Hey guys, Youngblood with you for an interesting Should You Buy video, this time covering the F8C Lightning. Now the F8A Lightning, which is Anvil's top-of-the-line fighter that's intended for military usage, which was a ship that was intended for only those who have had the highest tier packages backing the game, is now actually available for sale for those who find a ticket in the game granting them access to rent the ship for a day or purchase it on the website in an event called Join the Hunt, which you can search on the website and get more information on. The version available for purchase is the F8C, or civilian version, which will cost you $300 using store credits and coming with 6 months insurance, or $260 war bond, which means you're using new money only, and that comes with lifetime insurance. So while this is going to be a should you buy video, there's a few important bits to know. First off, you need to find a ticket in order to make the purchase available online. That's a relatively easy task, as most bunkers have the tickets that you need to collect. Some random loot boxes will even have them as well, so you're not really needing combat to make this work, although the prevalence in loot boxes inside of bunkers is significantly higher. Additionally, they have been so abundant that if you just get into a server and ask, someone is probably willing just to give you one, or probably better yet, sell you one for a small price. Secondly, once you get the ticket, you have to go to a ship rental kiosk at one of the major landing zones on a planet and turn that ticket in. And once you've done so, you're going to see a message in the game that'll pop up that says that you've unlocked the ability to rent an F8 for a day, which also means that you now have the ability on the website to make the purchase if you want to. Buying on the website is a little wonky. Just know that once you start that flow, you cannot abandon it because you will lose your ticket. So have your credits already assigned, apply them early if you need to, because that workflow is not necessarily smooth if you have to back out for any reason. Finally, like a concept sale, this is a time-based event, meaning that you would need to complete the task of finding a ticket and purchase online within the next few weeks. So get to it. But even if you're watching this video later and this Join the Hunt event is ended, my guess is that this won't be the last time that you can buy this ship. The last call out here would be there is an additional flavor that involves taking a ticket from a developer. This is a platinum ticket, and you end up getting a target on your back. But since this is a rare and challenging endeavor, let's focus on the primary objective here, which is, should you buy this ship, being the F8C? Well, the F8C is a single-person fighter, top tier, meant to be overwhelming in every way. It's 26 meters long, it's 25 meters wide, it's 8 meters tall, making it roughly Hornet-sized, which is appropriate being a next-generation Anvil offering. And with a mass of 159,000 kilograms, which is twice that of a Super Hornet, it's a different animal altogether. The design is interesting, it's kind of abstract with lots of superfluous angles and flaps, but it has an undeniably aggressive appearance. There are two things that make the F8 Lightning stand out in a significant way: the guns and the durability. So let's start offensively and look at the guns. By default, you're bringing along two size 2 Badgers on bespoke gimbals, meaning you can't change those gimbals, two size 2 Badgers on the top pilot-controlled turret, two size 3 fixed Tarantulas, and two size 2 fixed Tarantulas, with the Tarantulas being a ballistic cannon, offering very significant damage where the repeaters offer sustainability. Overall, maximum weapons hardpoint sizing, if you want to maximize sizing, is 6 size 2s and 2 size 3 hardpoints, which is really pretty impressive on a ship of this size. To add to the guns, you also have 8 size 2 missiles that are equipped in the hull on the shoulders of the ship, so while not a missile boat by any means, it is a formidable missile loadout. On the defensive side, what I feel makes this ship extremely special is the shielding. You have 2 size 2 shields on board, which makes it more equivalent in durability to something like a Vanguard, which is a much larger ship and is unparalleled in a smaller fighter configuration. Those shields by default on the F8C, which gets a more civilian components by default, are the chutes, which are B-grade stealth components, which is a weird choice. You're going to be coming in with so many weapons and large components that stealth isn't really on your side anyways, but I'm assuming that's more part of the default taming of a beast to make it civilian grade and not as military focused. The power plant, which is a size 2, is a Maelstrom. That's a military grade C. The coolers, you have 2 polars, which are size 1, and the polars, which are military grade B, are pretty darn good overall. The final component to speak here about is the Quantum Drive, which is the Expedition. That's a Civi Size 1 Grade C, which is a very efficient drive, but it is so slow. So, now, you're not going to get the larger size 2 drives that you will see in something like a Vanguard. So what I would probably advise you to do here is update this to an Atlas, most likely, to better balance the speed and efficiency. So those are kind of your details on the ship. What it brings by default in the intended role and that kind of information, but how does it compare? I personally think that the most apt comparisons for this ship are probably the Super Hornet and the Vanguard. And for this purpose, we're going to look at the Harbinger to pick the most combat-oriented version of the Vanguards. The reason that I picked these is based on the weapon sizes, components, intended role, and also the fact that they've been in the game for a while, so they have probably had several balance passes, so they give you something that's a little bit more stagnant and something to compare against. So let's again start with weapons and DPS, and take all weapons to their largest hardpoint potential and make them all repeaters in the CF line. And in this comparison, we see that the F8 with a DPS of 764, the Vanguard with a 718, and the Super Hornet at 643. The F8 has the most damage output, even though the Vanguard has a size 5 Galdarine in this example. But the Vanguard also ends up getting limited by the quad nose guns, and you still require a man in the turret to get to that point. So the winner here is the F8C. Swapping to durability, starting with shielding, because there's 2 aspects of durability. Shielding first. Both the Vanguard and the F8 have 2 size 2 shields, making that shield pool a draw. With the Super Hornet only bringing 2 size 1 shields, so you have the draw between the 2 larger ships in that class. From a body HP perspective, which might represent armor eventually, we will see that the total hit pool of the F8 is 48,000, and the Vanguard is at 43,000, with the Super Hornet only being at 22,000. Long story short, the Super Hornet is really kind of already out of contention in this battle, with the F8 getting another point, somehow getting more durability than the much larger Vanguard, which is supposed to be a tough nut to crack. I will say that the body damage of the F8 and the Vanguard are identical, but the Vanguard gets an extremely slight advantage when you look at the 80 extra HP on the nose of the ship. I think it's important to remember here that the way HP is calculated in the current state of the game means that anything that can be destroyed or knocked off of a ship needs to have a value. So ships that have a lot of pieces that can get shot off have a higher total HP. But the body HP is a better representation of how durability is intended, and for this purpose they are the same between the Vanguard and the F8. The flight model of the F8 is interesting because it has a more impressive roll than its pitch or yaw. And for the way that I fly, I appreciate roll more because I use that to begin my angular attacks, meaning that for me, the F8's impressive roll is a good match for me while having a more subtle pitch and yaw. If I was picking a perfect combination of those different directionalities, I would personally like to have a high roll, a medium pitch, and a lower yaw, which I feel gives me the most balanced ability to land shots while being nimble and fast. So in this comparison, the F8 has 36 pitch, 33 yaw, and 176 roll, compared to 45, 40, and 150 on the Super Hornet. So the Super Hornet is better in pitch and yaw, but is further behind in roll. And then the Vanguard is just very sluggish compared to these, being 32, 32, and 120 in the Vanguard. Now, what that means is the F8 is better than the Vanguard in all movements, and better than the Super Hornet in roll, while that F7CM has a better pitch and yaw. I personally see this as another clear win for the F8, but for others, depending on flight style, the Super Hornet may be a better fit for you. Speed-wise, the F8 just cooks. It's got a top SCM speed of 212, and the top speed pushing 1337 meters per second, which makes it one of the faster ships in the game. Now, when you compare that to the Super Hornet SCM is 192. Its top speed is 1229. Not fast, not slow. And the Vanguard, slow, 171 in SCM and 1022 being your split, meaning, again, the F8 is a clear winner here. The last number to look at is fuel capacity, which has the F8 being an interesting animal. 372,000 hydrogen fuel, which is about 2.5 times what the Super Hornet has to offer. So it seems to be less of a carrier-based need in that ship. And just shy of the Vanguard, which has 390,000. And it's interesting considering the Vanguard is sold as the relentless predator able to chase targets for a long time. And then you look at the quantum fuel. The F8 is at 2,500, which matches the Vanguard, so it's got pretty great range around the system. It blows way past the Super Hornet, which has a total at 583. So now that you know how the ship is equipped and how it compares to some of its peers, should you buy the F8C? I think the answer is simple for the most part. I think it's a yes. If you can find a ticket, which is easy enough, and if you enjoy combat or you need a combat ship in your fleet, and the price point is right for you, the F8C is a monster and will serve you very well. The offensive output and defensive capabilities combined with the range it makes it incredibly formidable and not to be ignored. There is a big caution I want to give here though. CIG has had a habit of ships being monsters upon their first release and then they get tamed. Don't want to talk about the Ares. I dare not, but you know that story. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I am calling out the potential when a ship that comes out this good, it has a strong probability of it being knocked down a peg or two once a balance pass is hit, which sometimes unfortunately comes on the tail of a sail. Overall, if you like the design, if you like the purpose, and you like how it performs, and you're okay with the cost, then pull the trigger. I've been flying it, and it's amazing. So that's it for this video. If you have questions, please get them into the comments. If you have different opinions, add those as well. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Have yourselves a wonderful day, and take care.